Alright, so in part one of the playlist, we did the hive stand, and in part two here, we're going to build the bottom board. Now, I always use screen bottom boards. If you're not going to make a screen bottom board, then you're going to have to watch a different video, and I may eventually add to this playlist and put in the just a solid bottom board. But what I'm gonna do is screen bottom boards because that's just what I like to use myself. You're going to need 1x4 for this, and the first thing you're going to do is just get your edge squared up, get your square mark on there. Again, just take your speed square, put it on the edge, draw you a line, and what you're doing is you're just trying to get rid of, you know, any kind of like nicks and knacks from the factory or whatever, and just make sure that the actual end of the board is square that you're going to pull your measurements from. So we'll start there again, guys. If you don't do this every day of your life, put the guard down, use your guard, do all that kind of stuff. I use mine like a chop saw. I do this every day of my life, so it's just the way it is. Wear safety goggles always when you're dealing with power tools to protect your eyes, unless you have been doing this for years and you know how to look at a blade and follow your line without debris coming into your eyes. So let's just square this off real quickly. And the thing is, your side pieces are going to be 22 inches. We'll do the ripping down of these later. We'll do that last because we're going to get different boards out of this one board. If you're just going to make one hive or one bottom board, then you want to get two of them 22 inches and two of them 15.5 inches out of this board. And then the remaining part of that, you're going to get your filler pieces, which I'll explain later in the video on the bottom board. So first thing we're going to do is just go 22 inches. Everybody knows where that is, just right on, exactly on the 22. Square that up. Get you another one that's 22 inches out of that. Now if your mark falls out on a knot, mine don't, but if it were to fall out here, then I would just come back here a little bit, square it up, cut that chunk off, and then pull my 22 to clear the knot. You don't want to cut through a knot. Knots tend to fall apart. So there's my 22. I'll cut it again. So that's going to be two of them now that are 22. Now these are going to be the two side pieces of the bottom board. Alright, the next two that you want to do is 15.5. And 15.5 is the center mark right here, in between the 15 and the 16, just in case you don't know. So two of those. The first two are 22 inches, and then these two are 15.5. Now, I'm just showing you with the guard down. Okay, so the 22-inch boards are your two side pieces of the bottom board. Your two 15.5 inches are going to be the inside frame. It's going to be the front and the back of the inside frame. If you're going to make more than one, if you're only going to make one, then save this piece, and we'll get our filler pieces out of that to do the filler pieces, which I'll explain later. If you're going to make more than one, you can go ahead and get you another 15.5 out of this board. Okay, that'll be half of the front and back of the next one, and every two that you do on 1x4/8 will give you a whole nother front and back to the hive. So it's up to you how you do it. I'm not going to save mine for the filler pieces simply because I have a pile of filler pieces right here that I can use and rip down to whatever I need them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a 15.5 out of this. Now I'm going to be making quite a few of these guys, so that's why I'm doing it this way. I'm going to go ahead and use it up. Now I'll just take this piece and toss it. It's trash. Can't really use it for much of anything at all. So let me cut that real quick with the safety, and then I'm taking my guard back off. So this piece is trash. Now on your second 1x4x8, again you want to square it off, and you want to get two 22-inch pieces, and that's going to be the side of the inside frame. It's going to be the two side pieces. So you need two of them 22 for the side of the entire bottom board, and then you need two that are 22 inches for the inside, the sides of the inside frame, and I'll explain that when we get to it. So that's what you're going to need to build it. You're going to need two 22.5 inch, or you're going to need a total of four 22.5 inches, and two of them at 15.5 inches. So let me get everything cut on mine, and then I'll explain what I'm talking about. Okay, so on your bottom board, you're going to have two of them that are your side pieces like this. And we're going to put grooves in here, one for a tray and one for the screen bottom platform. So that's why you need 22 for the sides. Then you need two more 22s, which is the length of the hive. And we're going to put rabbets in these. We're going to take rabbets out of these so they lay on each other. But the inside board is going to look something like this right here. Okay, but this will be sitting on, we'll cut notches out to where these sit, flush like that, but like so. And then that whole thing will sit in a notch that we're going to put in the side pieces, like so. So you need four of them 22 inches, which is the length of the entire bottom board. Now your hive's only 19 7/8, but your bottom board is going to be longer. So we still got to rip these to size. We still got to rip these to size. We got to do all that kind of stuff. I just want you to see what we're building here. So you need four of them 22 inches, and you need two of them 15.5 inches. Okay, that'll be your front and back pieces, and then you need two of them 22 inches for your side pieces, and two of them 22 inches for the side of the entire thing. So four 22s, two 15.5. That's what you're going to need to build it. So however you want to get that out of your lumber, do it. Like I said, if you want to save your pieces for your little filler pieces, which I'll explain later, then that's fine. If you're just going to build one, if you're going to build more than one, get whatever you can out of your lumber. Don't try to waste as little lumber as you possibly can. Alright, so I'll be back with you guys. Let me finish cutting all my pieces for all the bottom boards that I'm going to make real quick. Alright, that 15.5 inches, that's for a 10 frame hive. So if you're building a bottom board for a 10 frame hive, it's going to be 15.5 inches. You'll need two of them. If you're building an 8 frame hive, your measurement is going to be 13 inches, and you'll need two of them. If you're building a 5 frame hive or nuke or what have you, your measurement is going to be 8.5 inches, and you'll need two of those. So I'm going to be building a couple of bottom boards for 10 frames and a couple of bottom boards for 5 frame. So I'll be doing both. Okay. So again, it's 15.5 for a 10 frame. You'll need two of whichever size you need two of them per bottom board. So 15.5 inches 10 frame, 13 inches for 8 frame, 8.5 inches if you're doing a 5 frame or a nuke. Now if you're doing a double nucleus, that'll be a totally different video. Your bottom board on a double nucleus is a 10 frame bottom board, so it's still going to be the 15.5 inches. Okay, that doesn't change. So that's the measurements for your front and back pieces. Alright guys, so I got all mine cut, all the pieces I need. I've got the smaller ones stacked there, the short ones, that's for the 5 frame. I've got the longer ones for the 10 frame. And I've got all these cut. Now I told you wrong on these. You only need 3 22-inch boards per bottom board that you're going to make. That's all you need. You only need 3 per bottom board. The reason why is because when we build the inside frame, they're going to be cut down to inch and 5/8, and you can get 2 out of one board. So just, you only need 3 22 inches by 1x4, 22 inches 1x4. You only need 3 of them, just 3 per bottom board that you're going to make. That's all you need, guys, because again, you're going to get 2 out of one board. So you need 4 altogether, but you only need to cut 3 because you're going to rip one of them twice and get 2 different boards out of it, which we'll show here in a minute. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and rip those down to inch and 5/8. So for me, what I do is I just set the measurement here for 1 5/8. So that's that mark right there, that little mark, 2 marks after the half mark, as you can see there. And so you just butt your I forgot what that thing's called, but you butt that and go an inch, butt that thing right there and go an inch and 5/8. So, and then you're just going to take all your boards and just rip them straight through there, which I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're gonna rip these inch and 5/8. We're gonna rip 2 inch and 5/8 out of one board, but you see that bad edge right there? I want to get rid of it. So what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna take that bad edge right there and run it like that, because that'll keep the bad edge. So what I'll do is I'll spin it all the way around so the bad edge is over here, and I'll run that side along it and cut them through just like so. And then after I cut it, I'll move it over and I'll use that new straight edge and cut it again, and that'll eliminate that bad spot on the board. So you just want to make sure you're eliminating your bad spots on the board. Wherever you have a bad spot, just make sure you're eliminating it. Alright, let's go ahead and cut one for you. Alright, so we're going to need a push stick. You don't want to run your hand through there, so you're going to need a push stick to push it through. Again, my bad edge is here. I don't know if you can see it with the camera set up, but that's where the bad edge is. So we're going to use the good edge of the board up against the thing right here. So you're gonna get 2 pieces out of one board. Okay, that's why you only need 3 of them 22 inches instead of 4, because you're gonna get the third one out of that board. So you need to take one of your 22s for every bottom board that you're gonna make, and cut and split it into inch and 5/8 and inch and 5/8, and then you're just gonna have that little bitty rip left over, and that's it. You can just trash it. Alright, so on your front and back pieces, now if it's a 10 frame, that's your 15.5. If it's an 8 frame, that's your 13-inch boards, and if it's a 5 frame, that's your 8.5-inch boards. It's up to you what you want to do, your front and your back to your frame. You can leave them both 3.5, which a lot of people do. However, what I do, and again, it's completely up to you how you do this. This is the frame for the screen. Me, I keep the front of the frame 3.5 inches, because you need that for the landing board, plus a little bit to attach the wire to. On the other part, on the back side, I always make mine 2.5 inches, because I want as much wire as possible, so that anything that they drop or push down or send down, beetles, debris, whatever, comes out and doesn't get caught up on the boards. So again, it's completely, on the wire, it's completely up to you. You can leave your front and back 3.5 inches. Me, I'm going to make mine 2.5 inches on the back and leave the front 5.5. So I take half of the board. So I'm making 6 bottom boards for the 5 frame. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boards there. And I'm making 4 of the 10 frame, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. However many frames, if you're going to do it this way, you can leave them both 3.5. No big deal. You just have to, I'll tell you what to do when we go to do the notching. But for me, I take the back pieces only, so you only need one per bottom board, one of the boards. You got two that are that measurement by 3.5 right now. I take one of them and I rip them down. So I'm ripping mine down to 2.5 just to show you where that is. Again, button that right there, button that. We have, if it'll focus, well, it ain't gonna focus for us this round, looks like, but it's 2.5 inches right there. Maybe if I back all the way out, it'll show it. I don't know. It's not focusing, guys, but 2.5 inches right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip those down. Again, one per bottom box. You've got two per box that you're building. Just take one of them. That's the back frame board for the wire. Again, you can leave them 3.5. No big deal. Okay, so the next part is you're gonna need your 22-inch boards. Okay, remember we already ripped one set down to 1 5/8, but your two side pieces, that's the actual side of the bottom board. You want to rip them down to 3 inches, and you need two of them, two of those ripped down to 3 inches per bottom board that you're gonna make. So I got a couple examples here. This has a bad edge here and a bad edge on this side, but this side is far worse than this side. So I would run this side up against that just like so, you know, and run it through there, and take the worst side of the board out. Here's another example. Again, this board's pretty decent on this side. On this side though, you've got this little error here, and then you've got that error right there. And then here's another example, and on this board you got a knot. So if we were to come this way, you see you'd be cutting right into that knot. So on this board here, I would have to come from this side and cut it that way. And I've got, hang on one second. Okay, I've got this thing set to, let me get this board out of the way here, to 3 inches there, as you can see. So it's set to 3 inches, so that all I gotta do is run all the boards up against that, just like so, up against there, and rip them straight on through. So you want, again, the 22-inch boards, you want two of them ripped down to 3 inches per bottom board that you're going to make. Okay, now remember, on my front and back, I cut my back pieces down to 2.5 inches and left my front 3.5. Whether you did that or didn't do that doesn't matter. If your front and back are both 3.5 or not, this applies. So on all your front and back pieces, this is my 10 frame pieces. This is my stack for my 5 frame nuke pieces. What you want is you want to come over from here to here. Here, let me show you. You want to come over 1 5/8 inches. Hang on, let me see if I can get this to clear up. Okay, so 1 5/8 inches to the outside edge of the blade. So to this side of the blade, not the other side. You got 1 5/8 inches to the outside of the blade. And I've got the blade set, don't know how well we'll be able to see this, but it's set at just barely over the 3/8 mark, and I mean just barely over it. Just barely over it. I go just slightly over so that I make sure my cut goes through. And then what we're going to do is just take each one of these, and we're going to take it and run it through this way. Then we're going to spin it around, and we're going to run it through this way. Then we're going to come back and we're going to set the blade up to that 1 5/8 inches, and we're going to have it 3/8 from here to the rail or whatever it's called, and then we'll run them through standing up and cut out a notch. So let me go ahead and cut one of them, and then I'll show you what we did. Okay, so as you can see there, you got 1 5/8 inches. See if I can hook it. You've got 1 5/8 inches, and I go just slightly over. Inch and 5/8. And then when we run them back, I'm gonna do every single one of them like that, every single one, and then I'll reset this to stand up so that we can cut it this way and cut that notch out. What we're doing is we're cutting a notch out right here, and then right across there, so that they'll overlap one another when it's all said and done. Okay, so I've got all mine cut. You can see, you know, I got all of them. They're all the same, like I said, whether you're doing 3.5 from front and back, or you're going to do 3.5 in the front and 2.5 in the back, it doesn't matter. They're all cut. Now what I've done is I've got this set up to where we've got 3/8 of an inch. We've got 3/8 of an inch there from the rail to the outside of the blade there. So all the way to this side of the blade. Got 3/8 of an inch there. And then standing up, we're now going 1 5/8 inches. As you can see there. Inch and 5/8. So 2 marks past the half mark. And what that'll do is now we'll take our board, put our cut side to the inside, and we'll run it through there, and as you see, that'll cut it right to that mark. So let me go ahead and cut one of them for you. You're going to do both ends. So you'll bring this side through it, and then you'll flip it over, keeping the cut to the inside, and you'll run it through as well. So let me go ahead and show you that. And you can make a jig that you can put over this thing so you can run them through. Like I said, I just put my cut to the inside and I hold it right there and I run them through. Just make sure you keep the board plumb. That's your finished product. Let me bring the camera over here so you can see it. So there you go. And again, you've got 1 5/8 inches here, and you're in from this edge, from this inner edge back 3/8 of an inch. Let me grab one of these right here that we cut 1 5/8 inches. Now, I ain't got the notch in this yet, obviously, but you can see how it'll fit. Just like that, once we get the notch in this board here. That's why they're 1 5/8 inches. And like I said, it doesn't matter what size you're going, 5 nuke, or 5 frame, 8 frame, 10 frame, it doesn't matter. They're all gonna look just like, all your fronts and backs are gonna look like this, whether you do it. It doesn't matter what you did here, 2.5, 3.5, doesn't matter. They'll all have this notch in it, front and back. So let me get all them done and then we'll pick it up. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the side pieces of the frame. That's those 1 5/8 inches that you ripped, that are 22 inches long. And if you made your front and back the same, if you made them both 3.5, then what we're going to do is you got to have 3.5 here to this side of the blade. Okay, to this side of the blade here, to this side, from the rail to this side, 3.5 inches. I always go 3.5 and just make it just a hair stronger than 3.5. Let's see if I can get that to where you can see it real good. it's just barely over it. Just barely past it. And then you're gonna want 3/8 depth. That's 2 marks before the half there. That's the 2 marks right before the half mark. So 3/8 depth, 3.5 off of the guard. So if you made your fronts and the back the same, then you can take it through and cut it here, and then take your whole board, spin it around, and do it again. Now me, I did not make mine the same. So what I'll do is I'll take one side of every one of my boards there, all of them, and I'll do this one time on one side only, and then I'll set it up different to do this side over here. But again, if you made your front and back of your frame the same, that's these pieces here. If you made those the same, remember I made my back smaller, okay? But if you made them the same, if you made them both 3.5 inches wide, get the shadow out of the way, then all you got to do is just take your board and flip it. Just run it through and turn around and run it through again. But if you did not make them the same like me, you're only going to do one side only on all of your side pieces. All of your 1 5/8 by 22 inches. Okay, so let me go ahead and cut all those, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, so as you can see, I just cut one side because again, my front and my back are different. If your front and back are both 3.5, then you should have a notch on this side as well, on each and every one of them, on the same side of the board. Okay, if you did it 2 different measurements like I did, just keep up with me and you'll see what to do next. But next thing we got to do is we got to take that notch the rest of the way out, that 3/8 all the way up to there. So we got the blade set to 3.5 inches. Let's see if we can show you that. It's not wanting to focus, but it's 3.5 inches high, and we've got 3/8 from the edge here to this side of the blade. Not that side of the blade, this side of the blade. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stand your board up, and you're going to run it with the cut side toward that rail right there, just like so, and run it all the way through. And then if you're the same on both sides, then you'll flip it over and you'll run it through again, and your sides are done. If not, if you have a front and a back that's different like I do, then you have 1 more step or 2 more steps after this. So that's all you're going to do, just run them through standing up with the cut toward the guard or toward the rail, and run it straight through, and you'll have a notch out. And then flip it over and run it straight through. Okay, now you can go ahead and run both sides straight through if you're, you know, both sides of the board, if you have 3.5 inches on both of your boards. I don't. So, you know, you got to do it according to how you have it. Then we get those cut. So on the other side, here's what they look like when they're done. Again, I've only done one side. Yours should look like that on both sides if your front and back of your frame are the same. Okay, so what we're going to do, the easiest thing is while you already got your saw set up this way, with your 3/8 from here to this side of the blade, just go ahead and lower your blade down to 2.5. So mine's down to 2.5 now, and I'm not sure why it's not focusing, but it's refusing to focus right now. But it's 2.5 inches up. So now I'm going to go ahead, since my back pieces are 2.5, now I can go ahead and take one of these and run it back through, again with this side facing the guard there. So just like so. And run it through again on the other side that doesn't have a notch on it. So let's go. I'm gonna go ahead and run them through, and then I'll be back with you. So this is what it looks like now. You got one side notched out, and the other side you got a groove in it. So now what you want to do is you want to set this up 2.5 inches. Excuse me. So 2.5 inches there. You can see that's to this side of the blade. I know it's blurry. I apologize. I'm not sure why it's not focusing in right now, but let's see if I can try something here. There we go. That helped. So there you can see we got 2.5 inches if I can get it to sit right. 2.5 to this side of the blade, and we are 3/8 of an inch up. 3/8 of an inch, and that's that mark right 2 marks before the half there. No, it's hard to see it because it's hard to get it level, but it's 2 marks before the half. Okay, and so then we're just going to take these, and with the notch side down, so just like that, we're going to run them through on this side now, just like that, and cut them out, and you'll have a notch on both sides when you're done. For those of you that did the 3.5 on front and back, you've already been done. You ain't got to do any of this step because you did it when you did that step. So I'll catch you on the flip side here. Okay, so that's how it'll turn out. Like I said, if yours is the same front and back, then this section here will be the same as that section there. If not, then as you can see, that section there is going to be the front where the landing board is, and that'll be the back of the hive. So again, mine are 2.5 on the back, 3.5 on the front. If yours are 3.5, 3.5, then they'll just be the same on both ends. So now we can go ahead and glue these together. So we'll glue the frame itself together, and then we'll work on the side pieces of the actual bottom board. All right, we're gonna glue these together real quick. I'm gonna use Gorilla Glue. Type Bond 2 will work. Just make sure that it is outdoor use. That's the important thing. It's got to be outdoor. Paintbrush. You're gonna need a soffit stapler or some kind of a stapler. This is just a soffit stapler, or what they call a 1/4 inch crown stapler. But we're using 5/8 staples to staple them together, and a speed square. And I'm gonna show you how to build a 10 frame bottom board frame, and then a 5 frame bottom board frame. So go ahead and load that up. So you need one of your small boards. If you already if your front and back are the same, no big deal. But you're gonna need one small and one fat. You know what I'm saying? One 3.5, one 2.5, and you're gonna need 2 of these. So obviously the 3.5 side is gonna attach to the 3.5 side, and the 2.5 side is gonna attach to the 2.5 side, just like so. Take and put some glue on them. Doesn't have to be a lot or anything like that. It's up to you. I mean, just make sure you got glue on it. And then what you want to make sure is that you got it square before you start stapling it. Run the long side with the long side. Then we'll do this side here. Make sure you got it good and square again. And then we'll do this side here. And what this is where your wire is going to sit. This is the frame for your wire. Make sure you got it good and square. 2 of them usually work on the shorter side. The shorter side is going to be the back. And that's it. That's going to be the frame, and then your side pieces will attach here to the actual bottom board. Side pieces will go right here, and we'll get to that in the next step. So let's show you one of these. Same process. Get this way. And that's going to be the frame for the wire on your 10 frame. So there's a 5 frame and a 10 frame. This is going to be the front where the landing board is, where they'll go into the hive. This is the back of the hive, and I'll show you when we do the wire why I make mine shorter. But again, it's up to you which way you do it. So that's the front where the land come in, back, and on a 5 frame it would be that way. And you don't have to make them with these screens in them, guys. I mean, it's up to you, but I like to have the screen in a pull-out tray and use diatomaceous earth so that anything that falls down through there dries out and dies. I mean, it's like walking through glass, diatomaceous earth for these little creatures like the hive beetles and that kind of stuff. So that's all there is to it, guys. As far as the frame is concerned, then we'll go and we'll start working on the sides. We got a little bit more work to do on the sides of the actual bottom board, and then we can attach those together and put the fillers in, and then we'll be done. Alright, so the next part is we're going to take the side pieces to the bottom board. And these are the side pieces that are going to attach to the frame that we just built. And what we got to do is we got to have a 3/4 dado. Now this is where you're going to need a table saw. Now you can do this with a regular saw too, but it's really a pain in the butt. You'll have to draw you a line all the way down, and then draw you another line at 3/4, and then clear it out using your table saw. It's really a pain in the butt. But if you got a table saw and a dado set of blades, then set your dados up to 3/4. I always go 3/4 with a piece of paper in the middle there to make it just slightly bigger than 3/4. And what you want is from the guide to this side of the blade, you want 13/16 of an inch. You want a 3/4 dado, and you want that dado to be 3/8 of an inch up. What we're doing is we're making the slot for the frame to sit in. So this is what it will look like when it's done. So you want 13/16 from the top to the dado. The dado is 3/4 of an inch wide, and then the dado is 3/8 of an inch deep into the board, so it's halfway into the board. Okay, so you run it just like that. This is the top of your board, and you'll run it through just like so, all the way through on your 22" by 3" board there. So that's the first step. Okay, then we'll make a slot down here for the tray to sit in. So that's the first set. Just take them all, figure out what side you want to be the outside. This is the outside of mine. I'm gonna paint the outside, so it doesn't matter that it's got all this writing on it down here and down there. It doesn't matter. But this is the top of mine. That's the bottom. So I'm gonna take the top, which is this where my thumb is, and it's gonna go up against that guard there, just like so. And do every single one of them. You need 2 of these per bottom board that you're going to build. Alright, so now what you want is a 5/16 inch dado blade. That's 5/16, and you want it to be a 1/2 inch to the inside of the blade there. So you want to be from that rail to the inside of the blade, a 1/2 inch, 5/16 on the dado blade, and it's a 3/8 of an inch up from the surface, 3/8 of an inch. So you shouldn't have to change the height any. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take your boards here that you just put all your dados in, and you're going to go on, instead of going from this side, which is what we were doing, just like so, now we're going to flip it around and go from the other side. So we're going to come from this side and run that edge along that. So when it's all said and done, that dado will be on that side there, and that 5/16 is where your tray will slide into there. So let me go ahead and get all those cut, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so when they're done, that's how they're gonna look, just like so. So this is where your frame is gonna sit, and this is where your tray is gonna sit. So that's sits just like that. So just to give you a quick idea before I shut the video down for the day. That's how it'll look right there. We still got to put the screen on. We still got to cut the fillers for the front and the back. But other than that, it's almost ready to be painted and used. So I'll catch you on the next part of this video. Okay, so for the next part, what we want to do is go ahead and put the screen on the frame of the bottom board. And what you want to do is you want to go about on the measurement for your screen. You want to measure the inside opening of yours. You know, they may be different than what I have. You may have 12 inches even, you may have 12 1/4, 12 1/2. It all depends on how tightly your frame fits together. They should be about 12 inches though. And what you want to do is you want to cut your screen about 2 inches bigger than that opening. So like mine's 12 3/16. So what I'd want to cut mine is 14 3/16. So you can go 2 to 2.5 inches bigger, okay? So I'd probably make mine about 14.5 inches. That's just what I'll do on mine. And then coming this way, you can see that we got 16 inches there. So we would make that 18.5 inches is what I'm gonna make mine, okay? And again, that's the front there, that's the back. So that's what I'm gonna make mine. But you just wanna go 2 inches bigger than your actual opening, no matter if you're, you know, which side you're doing. Like this one here is about 5 1/16. So 5 1/16, I'd go about 7.5. And this way I've got 16, so I'd go about 18.5. That's just me. And what you need is number 8 hardware cloth, or wire mesh, but usually at the store it's called hardware cloth. Number 8 hardware cloth, or it might be labeled as 1/8 by 1/8 by however wide it is. In my case, 1/8 by 1/8 by 24 inches hardware cloth, or a wire mesh. But usually, like I said, this is called a hardware cloth. So there's my hardware cloth that we'll cut this out of. Let me get set up, and then I'll show you what we do with it. Now, the first thing you want to do, you want to make sure, you know, go ahead and get you a nice square cut. Just follow one of your lines all the way down. Usually whoever cuts it at the store usually don't cut it perfect. So just find you a gap, follow that gap all the way down, cutting it in that line there. So I picked the wrong line, as you can see. That's where mine ended. So what I'll do is I'll come back a little bit more and go again down that, stay on that same line all the way down. That way, the only thing you're doing is just trying to give you at least a halfway straight edge to start with. Okay, so now I got a straight edge, and no matter if you're doing a 5 frame, 8 frame, 10 frame, whatever, your distance this way is going to be 16.5 inches, so or 16 inches even. So go ahead and you can go ahead and cut your lengths down to 18.5 and just cut them. When it comes to these, you can get 2 of them. If you got 24 inches, you can get 2 of them out of 1, maybe 3 of them, but you can get 2. So you need you only be able to get one out of this one for the 10 frame. So I have 4 of those, so I'll go ahead and cut 4 at 18 and a half and get them prepped. And then I'm gonna cut. I've got 6 of these, and I can get at least 2. So I'm gonna cut 3, half of what I need. So if I need 6, I'm only gonna cut 3 of them, so I can get 2 out of 1. But before I cut all them, I'm gonna cut 1 of them and see if I can get 3 or 2 out of 1 of them. So I'll be right back with you. Let me go ahead and cut and prep this one, and then I'll show you what we do to fasten it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I've got them cut here. I just went 18 1/4. Like I said, just go 2 to 2.5 inches over, however much you want. Inside to inside on the 10 frame is 12 inches. So I'm gonna go about 14 or 14 1/4. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So we're gonna just measure from the side, and we'll come over 14 1/4, and I'll cut that off. And following this wire can sometimes play tricks on your eyes, guys. I'm just telling you. Try to stay in between the 2 same lines as you go all the way down it. Okay, now that we got it cut, I'm gonna get my tape measure here. And you want to come in about a 1/2 inch. Figure out where that is on your and what I'm doing is I'm bending it on that 1/2 inch mark. I'm bending it under. And what that does is it gets these little sharp edges right here, all these sharp edges, and it puts it underneath so that the beads don't get all tangled up in it. And it gives you a little bit more to staple to when you get ready to staple it down onto the frame. So you can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna get that good and flat all the way down, and then I'm gonna go a 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, and a 1/2 inch here, and do the same thing, folding it under every time the same direction as this fold. Let me go ahead and finish this one out, and I'll show you. So as you can see, right, they're all being folded under the same direction all the way around. That way all the pointed edges are underneath of the screen, so they don't never step onto the pointed edges. Okay, so you can see I've got it all the way around here. Okay, now I have misplaced my rubber mallet, but if you have a rubber mallet, and if you want to, you don't have to do this, you can just tap it down right there all the way around. Just make sure you got it good and tight. Like I said, you don't have to do this step, it's up to you, but I like to do it just because it makes everything a lot flatter, and especially on the corners. So there it is now. And what did I do here? Oh, I forgot to cut my I forgot to cut the width, didn't I? The 12, I need to go 14 inches. Oh, I did cut my width. What did I do this with? Oh, I cut it the wrong way on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this shorter, back down to 16. what I did was, this is 2 foot wide, and when I cut it, I cut this way instead of this way is what happened. So that's my error, my mistake. Make sure you get that right. So I got to cut this down to 18 and a half. Then I'll fold it my 1/2 inch under. Go ahead and tap that corner. Okay, so there it is. And now what we're going to do is staple this down using 5/8 inch crown staples. With that, I gotta get my air hose hooked up and everything. But you're just gonna take it like that, and you're just gonna staple it down. Just that's all there is to it, okay? So try to keep it as far back as you can this way, because your entrance reducers, you don't want, you have to put your entrance reducer on top of the screen, if you understand what I'm saying. You want your entrance reducer to butt up against it or come short of it. You don't want to end up because otherwise your entrance reducer, whenever you put your hive together, won't fit because of this itself. So just make sure you hold this back, from the front. Remember, the front is the bigger board, or if both of yours are the same, then either side can be the front. But again, I make my back shorter because I want more debris to fall back. That's the only reason I make mine less width. It's the only reason. So let me get my air hose hooked up, and I'll come right back and show you how I staple it all on there. Okay, so again, you want to use 5/8 staples because you're only dealing with 3/4 inch wood here. And I just pick a corner. I make sure I'm the same distance on the sides here, and I pick a corner in the front. Gotta have staples. And I shoot one side down. That's all I do. Now I'll come down this side and make it the same all the way down it. Because a lot of times the wire is all wiggly. So I'll just straighten it up as I go down it. Then I'll come to the front and I'll get it good and straight. Now we're going to pull this corner to get everything to work out just right. And just tug on it as you go along it. Because you want it as tight as you can get it. That's that one there. So that's all you're going to do on these, and then I'll show you the next step when we come back. Okay, so for this next part, you need your your bottom frame side pieces. These need to be down. The small one needs to be down. So, as you can see, they're both down. And on mine, this is going to be my front. So whichever side you held the wire back on, that's your front. If you have two different sizes, then the short side is going to be the back of it. So all you're going to do is take your dill, slide it on that upper part, Alright, you're going to slide it in there. You want it to be flush with the front of the hive. that's how it's gonna look right there. This is the front, and everything's in the top. Bottom groups are facing each other. That's how it's gonna be right there. Now you want to take your T-nailer. And use an 1¼ T-nails. Sorry, I had to wait on the compressor. Okay, so next thing you want to do is on your front. Well, actually, you don't need to do your front. It doesn't matter, but you need measure what you got left over right here. It should be 13/16 or 3/4. You're gonna need a board in the front, a filler board here, and then a filler board, or that's the back of the hive. On top, in the back, you need a filler board, so it needs to be 3/4 by whatever you want to make it, 3/4 by 3/4. And then on the bottom, you need another one, so when you slide your tray in and out, it bumps into that bottom board. And your bottom board is going to be bigger, obviously, because you want it to go all the way from there to here. And in my case, I've got an 1 5/16, 1 3/8, 1 5/16, somewhere right in there. So you need one for the front bottom and one for the back top. Let me get a board here. Hold on, let me show you. That's how your hive's going to sit. So you need a board down here to block off the bottom. Down here. This is your entrance reducer, whatever you want to make it be. But on the back side, you want it on the top to fill in that gap. So that's what we're going to do next. The back top is going to be 3/4 by 3/4 by whatever you got in between here. In between these two boards. That's what your measurement will be. So 3/4 by 3/4 by whatever that length is. Again, that's my front. So front or top, back. So I need one right here. And you can glue all this together if you want to, guys. Up to you. Okay, so that's the top, back. Now I need one in the front, bottom. Okay, so that's it. I mean, let me stick a board on there and show you. So that's all done like that, but let me show you the other piece too. So now the bees can land here and walk in. And you got the back piece for the back. And then you put your entrance reducer, however much you want to reduce your entrance there. You just put it right there, whatever that measurement is from there to there. So that's basically it, but there's one more thing I do. I'll show you what I use for that tray in there. But there's one more thing I do before I use my tray. And that is, if you look on the back here, you have this slot, you have that slot, and that slot, and so your tray is going to slide through them slots and bump into here, but there's nothing here to support that tray. And since I use that perforated plastic, I'll show you here in a minute. What I do is I go ahead and rip me a board, whatever that measurement is from the bottom to that groove, okay? And then I take about a 1/16 to an 1/8 off of that, and then I'll nail it right here, flush to this edge right here, but right here. Let me go ahead and cut one and I'll put it in there and I'll show you what I'm talking about. That way when your tray comes in, this end of the tray has something to sit on so it don't warp over, you know, end up bowing and warping and doing all sorts of crazy stuff over time. So let me cut one of them and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so all this is just gonna sit in there just like so. Well, easier said than done, huh? Just like so. So I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just a little bit short of that. That way when it comes in, it's got a little bit of room to play. Alright, so now the only other thing we got to do to finish it out is to make the tray itself. So let's go ahead and let me get that material out here and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so for the last part here, we're going to make the actual tray that slides in and out. Now what you're going to need to do, if I remember, I'll put a link to these cardboard in the description of the video for you guys. But what you're going to need is well, check your measurements right here. Let me see if I can show you on the camera. So you want to check what you have here from button that to that groove right there. So here in this case we have 9/16, and then down here from the bottom of the groove to the bottom of the board we've got basically 7/16. So I'll make mine a 1/2 inch and 7/16. Okay, that's what we're going to be making. So whatever you have from the top of the board here down to that groove, that distance right there from here to here, where my fingernail is, that's what you're going to want to make your rips. You also need one from the bottom of the groove, from right here where the top of my thumbnail is, down to here, okay? And you want to leave it about a 1/16 or an 1/8 inch short of that. And so I've already got my rips. I've got my 1/2 inch here. So these are a 1/2 inch. Remember, I had 9/16, so I took a inch off, 1/16 off. I've got a 1/2 inch. And then on these, I've got basically 3/16 or a 1/4 on these right here. And so the next thing you want to do is you want to get your measurement from inside here. So that groove that we made there, so all the way to the board behind it, all the way out to the back of the hive. So in this case I have, see if I can get this situated for you. So you can see I'm butting inside that groove, and I've got 21 1/4, as you can see right there. Fourth mark past the 21. So 21 1/4, and I need to know what it is from inside the groove. So all the way back here on the back side of the groove, all the way across to the back side of this groove. And in my case, if you made your grooves any different than I did, then yours would be different. But tight, as you can see here, I've got 8 and 7/16, so that's 1 mark shy of the 1/2 inch mark. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make mine 8 1/4. Okay, and mine will be 8 1/4 by 21 1/4. So remember, we had this 21 1/4 here. So 21 1/4 long and 8 1/4 wide. So let me put all this stuff right here. And you'll do the exact same thing for the large hive, for the 10 frame or whatever frame you're making. You just measure your length and what you got in between the grooves. Whatever you got in between the grooves, you want to take off at least an 1/8 inch, 3/16 or even a 1/4 inch. That way you got it, don't, when you slide your tray in, it don't get stuck. So give me 1 second, I need to get a pencil. Alright, so I've got the wrong size, so I'm gonna have to order some different ones, and I'll put the proper length on there. I'll go ahead and show you on the bigger box, because I do have those. These aren't long enough. I don't have 21 1/4. I got 18 inches, which come out to be 17 1/2 inches. So I'll have to get the right ones on that. So I won't show you that one because I won't have them with me in time to make the video. But we'll do the big one. And on your big frame, let me snag one of those. So on the big frame, button all the way in the back to the end here, I've got 21 1/8, so that's what I'm going to make them, 21 1/8. And then groove to groove, I've got 15 1/2, so I'm going to make mine 15 1/4. So I'll make mine 15 3/8. So 21 1/8, 21 1/8, 15 3/8. So first we'll do the 21 1/8. Just make a mark right there at 21 1/8. This is not very difficult here at all. This, whatever your measurement it is. So 21 1/8. That's 2 marks past the 21. And then 15 3/8. So just come from the opposite end there, and 15 3/8, which is 2 marks before the 1/2 mark, or 6 marks past the 15. Then we'll take our square and we'll just put it on the end down there to make sure we cut this good and square. And then we'll do the same thing here. So I've got my marks now, as you can see there and there. Now just take a razor blade. I like these adjustable ones to do this. So you just take your razor blade and just slice right through it. I don't cut it all the way through the first round through, I just trace the line. that keeps everything good and straight when you actually begin to slice it. So then I'll go back and I'll cut it all the way through. So that part's cut, and then we'll turn it and we'll do this one here. And again, the same thing, I just go through and I trace the line. And then I'll go back through and I'll actually cut it. So that's our tray. Slides in and out, no problem. And look, guys, in the summertime, you know, if you build this for the summer and you're using it in the summertime, you don't even have to use this. You can put your diatomaceous earth on it and use it in the summertime, and that'll catch your hive beetles that they drop down through the screen. Diatomaceous earth, not oil, not anything else, just diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is not poisonous or anything like that. It's a completely natural product made out of sea stuff in the ocean, and it's abundant. There's plenty of it, so it's renewable. But so we got that part of it. The next thing we want to do is we want to measure in between. Let me see if I can get it on the camera. So we're just going to measure in between here and here, just in between exactly what we have. So in my case, I have exactly 14 3/4 in between, 14 3/4. So I need one of my thin ones and one of my thick ones, and I've got to mark them 14 3/4. So then we just cut those off, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I got them cut, and I'll just slide that back in the groove there. And then the thicker one, of course, is going to go on the bottom. And I always make mine stick out just barely, that way you can grab it. You know what I mean? That way it's sticking out past this a little bit. You want to cut that the same though. That way that comes out flush. And so we'll stick them together just like that, and then we'll pop staples right inside there. Give me 1 second to set up the stapler. Now I'm using 1 1/4, okay? What you need is 1 inch. Since I'm using 1 1/4, I got to angle my staple in there. Otherwise it's going to pop out this other side and you'll have a jamming situation. Alright, sorry about that. I had to wait for the compressor to kick off. So there it is. That's everything set up. Now you can just pull your tray in and out as you need to. And again, this is the front of your hive here, where they'll be going in and out. Interest reducers, I'm not going to show you, but all you need is a 3/4 by 3/4 piece. And hang on, let me grab one real quick. I'm going to show you. Explain something. Okay, so all you need is a 3/4 by 3/4 by 3/4 by 3. It's all 3/4. And then whatever you want to reduce your hive down to, you just make a 1/4 inch slot. Okay, in this case I got 2 slots. You can have one slot for like winter time when they're just coming in and out, just a center, one little center 2-inch slot, or even an inch. You know, whatever you want to do there. You can have a 2-inch. You can have two. You could have two 2-inches. You can have a 6-inch. You can have an 8-inch. Whatever you want to do. Or if it's in the middle of a honey flow, have no restriction at all. Completely up to you. So the bees can come in. The beetles are dropped down through here. You come in the back of your deal to empty your tray. You fill it with diatomaceous earth, and that's all there is to your screen bottom board. And that's a complete video, guys. We don't charge anything for these videos. We don't believe in that. You know, if they help you out and you want to donate, you can. We got a link in the description of the video. But it doesn't matter. You know, we believe in open source. We think everything ought to be free and available to everybody. And if people have the skill, then they should be allowed to just go out there and do the work. And then, you know, if they want to sell it to people and that kind of stuff, that's fine. That's legit. We just provide the information needed to be able to build them. So we love you guys. Get in the Word, stay in the Word, and get the Word in you. And hopefully this has benefited you and helped you out as far as making a 10 frame or 5 frame or even an 8 frame hive. So next thing we're going to do is build the actual hive box. And normally I would do the finger joint where you got the 3/4 inch notches that all come together, but I know most people don't have the ability to make jigs and have a table saw and all that kind of stuff. So we'll make it to where they just lap together when we get to that stage. Now these you can paint them, or you can what I like to do to make it last for a long time is to actually just stain it and then actually put fiberglass resin all around it, and use a fiberglass resin instead of paint. But that's completely up to you, your own individual likes, desires, wants, all that kind of stuff. So, and again, the reason we held the screen back is so that when we slide these in, because the hive's really only going to be back in here. Let me just get this super right here. So you can see the hive actually starts way back here. So that's actually a landing board, and then the 45 ramp goes here when you set it on your stand, a hive stand. Then your 45 will start here, come out flush right here, and be a 45 for your bees can just land on the 45 and come in. And the only time that these 45 ramps are important, guys, honestly, is basically during a honey flow. So when the bees go out to forage, they take some honey from the hive for their energy, and they go out and they collect their pollen and what have you. When the nectar is flowing, when there's a nectar flow, these bees have pollen on them, plus their inward parts are filled to capacity with nectar on their way back, and you know, and they're trying to get into this hive, you know, and they're full of weight, they're exhausted, they're wore out. They may land here, or you know, they're landing like this because their back end is so full of nectar and so heavy and so full of resources that they're coming in like this instead of a normal flight in. And so a lot of times they don't, you know, the wind's blowing and there's all these other issues going on, and they end up hitting here, and then they got to take back off and fly back around and get realigned and come in, when it's easier just to land on the landing board, on the landing ramp, and then they can walk themselves in there and put the nectar and the pollen where they need to do it. So that's really the only time is during a nectar flow that you need the 45. Really, there's no other time that's needed. It's not needed in the winter time, you know, or when there's no nectar flow. So it's completely optional. You can just take your hive stand right here by itself, set it on some blocks or on some logs or whatever, however you're going to set up your stand, and you don't need the ramp at all. But it's just beneficial to them when there's a heavy nectar flow. Really, there's no other benefit to them. So if you watch slow motion video of the bees coming in, and they'll come in and they'll miss target, and then they got to fly back around, they got to try it again, you know. But when they're not full of nectar and they're light and they're not full of those resources, 90% of the time they'll fly straight into the hole. They won't land here. They won't land on the ramp. They won't land up here. They'll fly straight into the hole and land inside of the hive, not on the outside of the hive. But again, when it's windy and they're full of resources and they're struggling and they're wore out coming back from their flight, they're struggling. They're literally struggling, and that 45 ramp comes in handy. So we'll talk to you guys later. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you do. Like it, share it, get the word out. Again, we're going to build all the different components. Normally, like I said, I'll finger join them like that, but in this case, for y'all's sake, that probably don't have table saws and all that I'm a carpenter. That's why I got all this stuff. This is what I do for a living, carpentry. Build houses, banks, whatever, it doesn't matter. Storage sheds, garages, it doesn't matter. So I have the equipment, but so we're gonna build it to where you can just build it with a basically with a table. With a regular circular saw. All right, guys, we'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Get in the word, stay in the word, get the word in you. Probably the most important thing you'll ever do in your life.